Whatever it takes.
So, I watched a movie last night. I watched a little small budget movie that absolutely blew me away. Before we jump into this Avengers Endgame movie review, I want to let you know the first half of this video is going to be non-spoilers, and then the rest of it is going to be talking about spoilers. I will give you guys a warning so you know when the spoiler discussion is going to start. But my boys, Avengers Endgame. The Infinity Gauntlet of superhero movies. This movie absolutely blew me away. It is worth the hype. Everything leading up to this made this movie perfection. And I mean this. This is literally the perfect comic book movie. The one thing I do appreciate that is that it's completely different from Infinity War in all aspects. There's things in this movie that I completely expected to happen, but the way the Russos executed in this movie blew me away. The way the Russos were able to put this story together and things that I expected to happen, but the way they did it was just fantastic. And the Russos are absolutely amazing, and they are just comic book royalty at this point, in my opinion. This movie is everything I've ever wanted. It is the perfect conclusion to 11 years of MCU movies. 22 movies leading all up to this, and it is the perfect conclusion to all of it. Everybody stands out. The villain, look, Thanos, maybe the greatest villain of all time in movie history. I mean, this movie just blows you away, my boys. It has so much going on. Maybe that's a bad thing. I do realize there's points in this movie where I needed to catch my breath. There was a lot to take in, a lot of different moments happening where you can't just sit there and take a chill pill. There's a lot of moments in this movie that you're just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's slow it down a little bit. We're going like 1,000 miles per hour through this movie. And now I understand why this movie is 3 hours and 58 seconds long, because it definitely needed that time. And I completely understood it from the moment they announced it. I know certain people don't love long movies, but this movie, absolutely necessary that it was 3 hours and 58 seconds long. There is just so much covered in this movie. It feels like one gigantic MCU encyclopedia. That's what Avengers Endgame is to me. It is the best of the MCU all wrapped up into one gigantic, amazing movie that absolutely blew me away. I mean, huge props to everybody involved in this movie. Thanos was amazing. Thor was amazing. Thor and the Hulk. Woo! Again, even they were amazing in Thor Ragnarok. And look, the Hulk getting its ass kicked in Infinity War and just becoming completely washed in Infinity War and being useless in that movie was one of the things I was upset about in Infinity War. My boy absolutely redeemed himself here in Avengers Endgame. The Hulk and Thor were absolutely the MVPs of Avengers Endgame. This movie, again, look, you go into this movie expecting one thing, and they do a complete 360. You do not expect this. This movie is like, let's say, it's like 5 movies put into one. That's how insane this movie is. That's how much ground this movie has to cover. And I'm going to tell you right now, the third act of this movie is one of the greatest third acts I have ever witnessed in my life. I'm not going to lie. I pulled a Kevin Smith, and your boy got emotional with that third act. For somebody that's been reading comic books his whole entire life, that third act was literally art being ripped out of a comic book and thrown onto a big screen with characters that I have been watching for 11 years. And that is, the third act is just like the conclusion of everything, my boys. And your boy got emotional. Your boy, seriously, I'm getting teary up now. It's just like everything that happened 11 years leading up to that point in that movie. Everything that these characters have gone through. The third act. If you have been a loyal MCU soldier, if you could watch that third act and not get teary-eyed and not get emotional, then are you really a fan? Because that third act is absolutely insane. It is one of the most emotional, impactful third acts in comic book history, and I do not think any other superhero movie could ever come close to that third act. That final battle towards the end of the movie, oh my God, it's, you know, Unfortunately, some of that stuff was spoiled for me, but I'm glad not all of it was, because the things that were spoiled for me were just the little tiny bit of this movie. The rest of it was just absolutely iconic. It is the perfect movie. It is honestly the perfect movie. And I don't like, no, it's hard for me to call movies perfect. Sure, I think one of the main issues I did have with this movie is, again, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to take in. So yeah, I think this movie just has too much going on in some certain aspects where you're like, well, let's slow it down, man. You got all these certain moments in these movies that you're just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's relax, because a lot happens. I'm not joking you. The first 15 minutes of the movie, you're already out of breath. And there's still another 3 hours to go. And that's the first 15 minutes. You're already like, what? And it keeps going, and it just, like, in a weird order that you can't believe it. It is epic. To the Russos, thank you. You guys suck for messing with my emotions during that movie, but thank you for making one of the greatest comic book movies ever. The Avenger movies, I wasn't a big fan of Age of Ultron, but if you just watch Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, it's very much like the original Star Wars trilogy. You could really, each movie is very much like Star Wars, Empire Strike Back, Return of the Jedi, Avengers, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame. Because, man, this is like Return of the Jedi, but on steroids. And that third, like, again, the third act, one of the greatest third acts of all time. I was literally sitting there, and the crowd, my boys, the audience. There's a moment in this movie, if you guys remember, everybody's reaction to when Thor shows up to Wakanda, the crowd erupts. There's a moment in this movie that trumps that even more. There's a moment in this movie that is so much better than that, and so much more iconic, and so much more, like, just beautiful, that you just get shivers, you get chills, my dude, when it happens. Go watch this movie. You cannot get it spoiled. Don't watch the bootleg version. Go to a theater. Buy a ticket. Sit down. Don't drink anything because this movie's long. And just soak it all in. Do not get this movie. There's too much going on in this movie for it to get spoiled. Now, talking about spoilers, we're going to get into it right now. So, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. If you don't want any spoilers from Avengers Endgame, either stop this video, or move ahead, because I have to jump into the spoilers. I have to jump into the spoilers. There's so much going on in the movie. I don't want to make two separate videos like other YouTubers do. I just want to make it all one movie review. First half non-spoilers, this half spoilers. So my boys, spoiler alert, we're jumping into this. Again, I expected some of the things to happen in this movie that eventually did happen. What I did not expect was the way they put it together. Killing Thanos 15 minutes into the movie was one thing I did not expect. I did not expect that to happen. Blew me away. No idea that was the way they were going. 5 years passing and seeing how each Avenger, dealt with this in a different way. We get Smart Hulk, which was fantastic. Ruffalo, completely MVP in this movie. Thor going through a midlife crisis and just becoming me, thick and with a beard. Loved it. Thor is forever the mood moving forward. Thor was absolutely amazing in this. There's just so many things in this movie. Like, there is time travel, which is what I knew was going to happen. Again, I was pretty much right about this movie. About 90% about it, I was right. What I expected happened. Again, it's the way they did it. Time travel being introduced, them going back to the first Avengers movie, some iconic moments in the MCU history that they revisited was just, to me, the icing on the cake, because it felt like we were taking a trip down memory lane and looking at all the moments that led up to this iconic movie. This was just fantastic, my boys. Going through all those scenes of Howard Stark talking to Tony Stark, the father and son moment was spectacular. Just time traveling being introduced really changed the MCU, in my opinion, to the point where there's just so many things that they could do now. They all go search for the stone, but they're trying to make their own gauntlet, trying to find the stones before Thanos. They make their own gauntlet, which, again, that was the toy that I was talking about on the TV spots that was spoiled. The Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet, which was absolutely amazing. This movie just has so much going on. It's hard to just break it down scene by scene. But again, the third act. The third act, my boys, is just, oh man, the third act. There's just a moment in this movie where, Cap gets Thor's hammer and it is absolutely beautiful. There's a moment when they all come back, and Cap, your boy's getting emotional. Cap has the hammer, and he says, "Avengers, assemble." And it's literally every character from the MCU. And if that does not send shivers down your spine, if it does not tear you up, I would be amazed, because it is the moment of all moments of the MCU. It is everything that has led up to that moment that really hits you. The 22 movies, the 11 years, my boys, it is absolutely one of the greatest scenes of all time. The third act is beautiful. I will say one thing I was very interested in is that we do not get a lot of Captain Marvel. She's probably in the movie 20% of the time. And that really took me back. I thought they were really going to use this movie to really like show her more and lift her up more than she already is. So I was really surprised that she wasn't in the movie that long. Hawkeye, Ronin, fantastic. Loved his story arc in this movie. It was really amazing and awesome. Everything else, man, that third act, again, Thanos, I will say Thanos wasn't as intimidating in this movie as he was in Infinity War, which makes sense. But the third act, that's when he really shows up. In the third act, if you're expecting Thanos throughout the movie, you'll be a little bit disappointed. But just wait to the third act, because Thanos redeems himself and becomes the mad titan, badass dude that just whips ass. There's a moment in this movie where it's him versus Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. And it is just comic book magic, my boys. Comic book magic is just ripped out of the comic book and thrown onto the screen. This movie does end on a sad note, though. It really is the end of, in my opinion, the first generation of the MCU. I know they call it by phases, but I really do think this is the ending of the MCU from the first generation, in my opinion. The way it ends, there's a moment in this. Again, spoilers. If you're still watching this, you don't know I'm talking about spoilers. I gave you guys a warning. There's a moment where Iron Man gets the gauntlets, the stones, puts it on his hand, and God damn, your boy's getting all emotional again. Freaking Thanos says, I'm always gonna happen, and Iron Man, Tony Stark, the greatest in my opinion, the greatest Iron Man moment of all time. Damn. He gets the stones, puts it on his hand, puts his finger like this, and says, "I am Iron Man." My boys, instant tears. This is the godfather of the MCU. His movie started all of this. For him to sit there with all the stones and say, "I am Iron Man," snap his finger, erase all of Thanos and his family, and then the unfortunate passing, ruined me. Absolutely ruined me, to the point where I just could not breathe. And just, it was insane. It was insane. Look, man, this is it. This is it. The torch has been passed down. Tony, Captain America, got to live his life. That's another moment that freaking shook me, dude. That it really hit me. After all the service Captain America has done in all these movies, for him to finally go back in time and have his life and pass the torch down, that was fantastic as well. Also, big thing about this, there is no post, mid, or mid credit scene in this. There is none. It just ends and that's it. And it makes sense. It's the end. It's the end game. It's the final chapter of, in my opinion, the first generation of the MCU. And I am even more excited to see where they take this. Sure, is it going to suck that we're probably never going to get an Iron Man Wolverine interaction, or we're never going to get another Iron Man interaction at all? Obviously it does. But if Tony Stark was going to retire or leave, the way he's going to leave, that was the greatest way to leave. And it absolutely shook me. Avengers Endgame. I want to say 10 out of 10. You know what? Avengers Endgame. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. It is the perfect movie. I do not care. A lot of jokes, a lot of comedy, really good time, a lot of things happening. The greatest third act of all time. The greatest superhero movie of all time. It's that good. It's worth the hype. Go check it out. Don't watch it on bootleg. Don't wait till it comes out on DVD. Watch it in the theater. Experience it with an audience that loves and appreciates the characters just as much as you do. Even if the movie has been spoiled for you already by some bootleg, crappy screenshot or footage, or somebody just spoiled it on Twitter or on Instagram. Go watch it regardless, because there's one thing to read it and see it online, and there's another thing to go watch it on a big screen and experience it and soak it in. Go watch it, my boys. This movie was fantastic. I'm probably going to watch it again this weekend because I still have it on my mind. Going to at least watch it a couple more times. It is that good of a movie, and it is the perfect conclusion to the first generation of MCU. My boys, if you like this video, slap the thumb, subscribe, join the hall, click for daily uploads Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week. Links are all down below in the description. Comment down below if you have seen Avengers Endgame. Give me your review in the comment section. I would love to talk to you guys about this. I'm dying to talk to anybody about this. Comment down below. I will see you guys tomorrow. You guys enjoy the rest of your Friday. If you haven't watched it, get your ass to the theater. Go watch Avengers Endgame. I will see you guys later on. Too sweet.